Hello, all. I'm excited to tell you about our first ever open to the public, open invitation Bible Thinks workshop. It'll be here in Holland, Michigan on April 25th in the evening. That's a Friday. And then April 26th, we'll come back all day on Saturday. And we are going to slow jam through Scripture to figure out what it has to say about things that we care about today. So I hope you can join us. Look out. This is just a save the date, so look out for some upcoming RSVP information. But for now, it's April 25th and 26th, Friday evening and Saturday all day here in Holland, Michigan at Hope College. You, Hakeem, you were raised in the 5%er nation tradition. Is that correct?
This is
Now,
correct.
I had to go look up what is the 5%er nation. So can you explain to
Yeah,
our audience very quickly what is the
yeah,
5%er nation, and how did you get once we hear that, then how did you get from there
yeah,
to a follower of Jesus?
yeah. Long story short, I grew up in Philadelphia, and so um, in predominantly black spaces, and so black identity was a huge thing for me. And then that came in addition to my faith tradition. So the 5% Nation birthed out of the Nation of Islam in the 60s during the Civil Rights era, in response to a lot of racial segregation, a lot of racism that people were experiencing. It's an extreme reaction to that stuff. And so the reason it's called the 5% Nation is because they believe 85% of the world's population is like sheep, the unknown.
The
And
sheeple.
yeah, it's the sheeple, right? There's the 10% who are the elites that know the true identity of the black man and of the black woman. And then you have the 5% who are some within the black family that know the true identity of the black man and woman, which is the black man is God, the black woman is like earth, and the gods and earths together make humanity. We
Okay.
make the world. So it had like an Islamic bent to it, but a lot of Muslims would go, no, that's not, like traditional Muslims, Sunni and Shiite will go, no, that's not Islam. So you have a whole lot of inter stuff going on with there. But we believed Christianity was the white man's religion, Bible is a tool of oppression, everything's corrupted, and Islam is the true religion of the black man. So that's what I grew up believing. Now, fast forward to I was going into the eighth grade. I moved to Portland, which is a predominantly white space. I found myself
A
coming to
very
faith.
particular kind of white space.
Oh, it's a very different
Yeah.
white
Even for white
space.
people, we're like, that's something different.
So I moved from Philadelphia to Portland, and I really believe God had to break my preconceived notions about the faith by placing me in a context that would force me to actually build relationships with white people who I came to know and see as genuine followers of Jesus. This guy I was hearing about, obviously, like I had relatives who were Christian and this, that, and the third, but it
Right.
was all peripheral.
Mm.
I've been in black church spaces, this, that, and the third, but I had to wear like a kufi and all of that stuff. And so, but I'm here with these folks who I was just told are only after this faith to enslave, oppress, and to control. But here I am being mentored by a guy named Phil Zahn, who was working for Young Life at the time, and he just wanted me to see his life. I saw him become a father. I watched him navigate marriage as a young man. I saw how he was with his family, with his friends, with his coworker. I was in every space of his life, and that's what convinced me to go, no, I actually think this Jesus guy is onto something. And if a person like this is willing to follow him, I want to do that. And so that's the short journey of going from what I grew up in to that point.
Yeah, I have a few more questions about the 5% thing, but
Hmm.
I also want to give a quick shout out to white evangelicals, because they're so easy to dog. And
Yeah,
there's so many
yeah,
like
yeah,
questionable
yeah.
things going on with whatever a
Yeah.
white evangelical even is today.
Sure, sure.
But I became a Christian when I was 20 in like the most, non-denominational, charismatic, there's
Hmm.
some kooky stuff going on in that church or whatever. But the thing I couldn't get around was people's genuine devotion to God and to other
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Even though they said and did things that I thought were very weird as a
yeah,
non-Christian, and then even as a Christian, I might have thought some of it was weird.
yeah, yeah,
But their lived life before me was like a test, like the things that we talk about. It was a testimony before the world. I feel like sometimes we cut that short because of all the kooky stuff, right?
Sure,
Or all the
sure.
stuff that we just don't like about it.
Yeah.
So that's great to hear that some white guy getting married and living life was actually like a powerful influence in your life. As
Humongous.
I'm sure
Yes.
Christian relatives were praying for you at that point as well. So,
They were.
um, okay, the 5% thing, because I'm very interested because
Yeah, come on.
I wrote a couple articles on conspiracy thinking and the Bible, and so that then gets you drawn into conferences and conversations,
Yeah.
whatever. And I had a Uber driver once that I think was 5%er as well. Once I read the
Okay.
description of it, I was like, oh, I think that's what this guy was talking about because he was trying to he's like, oh, you're a religion professor. Ooh, have I got some stuff for you? And he
Yeah,
was laying down the
yeah.
truths, and I was like, huh, what? What is this? Hey there, if you've benefited from this content at all, please hit the like and subscribe or subscribe and like, one of those or both of them together on this video. It helps us tremendously with the math algorithm nerd monsters.
Yes, sir.
But if you were to label, that every formal religion kind
Hmm.
of addresses a deep need within a community, that doesn't make it
Hmm.
right or wrong. I would say Christianity does as well, right?
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
what do you think the deep need? Because I'm going to guess the 5 and the 10% people, none of them were white, right? So it's just, or were white people able to identify this?
The white folks would be in the 10% category
Okay,
and amongst the 85. Only the
okay,
5% was
okay. The
was
five
was
were black. So
yes, sir.
that's not just kind of a liberation movement. That's like a black supremacy movement.
Yeah, it's definitely a view that white people are devils. And so there was this ancient scientist named Yakub, which is a play on Jacob.
Yep,
Yakub,
that's what this guy
yeah,
was talking about.
yep, you could read the story, and basically he does. It's I want to say roughly the thought is 6,000 years ago he did this science experiment, so to speak, and he took black people or a group of black people and then started to like modify their DNA, and so it led to different racial groups, and eventually the worst of them all were the Caucasians.
Yeah,
And so yeah, there's definitely a view of black supremacy. It's like no, the black man is like Allah, so to speak, but then you also believe in Allah, so you're
right.
like you get confused of like, am I praying to Allah, but I'm also in Allah. I don't know what to do with that. And so it's definitely more than just trying to, uplift black people because that's where it really started. It's out of a hope to go in the midst of the social climate we find ourselves. How do we uplift the black
Mhm.
people within the time and day that it all started, 50s and 60s, and so in 70s, and then it took off and it got really deep within the hip hop community. So if you listen to a lot of 90s hip hop artists, like
Hmm.
Wu-Tang Clan, sometimes Nas would say a couple things. If you listen to a lot of that, it's all 5%. Not
Hmm.
all. That's too
Right.
Beatable Planets is
It
another
shows
one.
up
But
though.
there's a lot of 5% nation ideology, Nation of Islam, all of that stuff. So that's what I would kind of
Yeah.
generally say. But there's a Wikipedia page. That's the crazy
Yeah.
part. You can go
Well,
read
I
all of
mean, doesn't Fight the Power open up with a long quote from Farrakhan, right? Our
it
best
might.
trained men. I mean, it's about sending the superior African American man out into the streets to do to
Interesting.
wage war. Yeah, I believe that's Farrakhan. I could be wrong. Somebody will fact check me, but I
Sure,
play the
sure,
song
sure.
every semester in class, but I don't.
Fight the power.
Yeah, it's a great song.
It is a
Um,
great song.
the Yeah. Okay. Well, you address the kind of the need there is to lift up, and yeah, I'm always interested in where, because obviously this is not an African American phenomenon. This idea that people want to be lifted up, and so they use kind of we have the secret knowledge, this form
Mm,
of Gnosticism in a way. Was there a
sure.
dualistic aspect to it, the Gnostic, like in, formal Gnosticism where you get the kind of body soul separation, material stuff is bad, or was it like affirming? It sounds like with women being the earth, it kind of affirmed the material good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say there was a dualist view. It was a holistic view. How do we live in this world?
Hmm.
Um, holistically as a black being,
Hmm.
and how do we live well in accordance to the will of Allah? And so,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely a high view of the physical realm too, in
Uh,
addition to the spiritual realm.
And would you find, sorry, this will be my last question, but this, I just find
No,
this so fascinating.
you are the
Um,
first person who's gone. No, I got more questions on this.
really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you find a 5%er quoting like the Quran or Hadith, or is that way outside?
No, yeah, you do have some who will go, no, I read the Quran. You will have some who even read the Bible.
Hmm.
You know, picking,
Mix and match. Yeah. Yeah.
you mix and match to do some things that will ultimately, because I think the goal of 5%ers is to articulate what is true and trying to find out, like any faith-based,
Right.
in any faith, right? You're trying to seek what is true
Yeah.
and live accordance, in correspondence with that truth. And so if you find it in the Bible, cool. If you find it in the Quran, cool. But don't forget, there is corruption
Right.
in the Bible. So
Yes.
just be wary of that. That's the yeah, the concepts behind
Yeah.
trying to find truth. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's obviously heavy in Islam as well. Is like, yes, the
yeah.
Injil and the Torah, yes, those are the before books, but they're
But it's been
completely corrupt.
corrupted. Yeah. But they're corrupt.
But there's
So
something there. Yeah, that's good.